Donald Trump staying true to form in his highly anticipated first ever press conference as president-elect, berating reporters, cracking jokes, and promising sweeping reforms and prosperity. While he finally acknowledged that he believes Russia is behind the DNC hacking, he took on allegations about ties to the Kremlin, assuring the American people that no foreign power has any power over him.
She's asking a question. Don't be rude. Don't be rude.
It was his first press conference in nearly 6 months, his first as president-elect. And the first topic was the press itself.
Thank you very much. It's very familiar territory, news conferences. We stopped giving them because we were getting quite a bit of inaccurate news.
Donald Trump wasting no time pointing out who pleased him.
There were some news organizations that were so professional that I've just gone up a notch as to what I think of you, okay?
And who did not.
BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage.
The source of Trump's fury, BuzzFeed, published an explosive but unsubstantiated report claiming that the Russian government had compromising personal details on Donald Trump from a 2013 trip to Moscow, which could be used for blackmail.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together.
Straight out of a spy novel, the report was prepared by a former British intelligence agent working for anti-Trump political operatives. The unverified report had been circulating in Washington and landed on Senator John McCain's desk.
I looked at it, I decided this is a matter for the FBI and gave it to the FBI.
Saying the claims are too serious to ignore. The FBI has been investigating since before the election, but major flaws have already been uncovered, and Trump has strongly denied all of it, saying he knows how to avoid Russia's spy tricks.
I was in Russia years ago with the Miss Universe contest, which did very well, Moscow, the Moscow area. I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place. And again, not just Russia, all over. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
Major mainstream news organizations, including ABC News, chose not to publish the entire unsubstantiated report. However, it didn't protect CNN from Trump's wrath.
Your organization is terrible.
You're attacking our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a chance
Let's
to
go.
ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir.
You are fake news.
Sir.
So some fireworks.
Unbelievable. I mean, to see a president-elect of the United States call out a news organization.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
No. It was a 1-hour wild press conference like we've never seen before, but it was classic Donald Trump.
Separating Trump, the president, from the vast global empire bearing his name was supposed to be front and center just 9 days before his inauguration.
People have learned a lot about my company, and now they realize my company is much bigger, much more powerful than they ever thought.
While it's technically legal for him to retain control of his vast holdings around the world, there have been widespread concerns about conflict of interest.
I understand. They don't want presidents getting tangled up in minutiae. They want a president to run the country. So I could actually run my business. I could actually run my business and run government at the same time. I'd be the only one that would be able to do that.
Instead, he says he's turning the company over to his sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, offering this mountain of signed documents as evidence.
I hope at the end of 8 years I'll come back and I'll say, oh, you did a good job. Otherwise, if they do a bad job, I'll say, you're fired.
I think the one guarantee we have, there will always be a prop and it will always be a circus.
Well, since so much of today's press conference was about Trump's business dealings, we're going to go down the hall and talk to Rebecca Jarvis. Knock, knock.
Hey, guys.
Hi, how are you?
The ethics experts are looking at this saying it didn't go far enough. Most of them believe that Donald Trump, as difficult as it might have been, still should have divested and sold all of his business interests.
Because it's not a blind trust. He can't unknow that he owns all these properties or that his sons are managing them.
Right, you have to imagine that at the Thanksgiving table, something about the business, especially when it's got the family name on it, is going to come up, whether you like it or not.
He mentioned in the press conference that somebody approached him over the weekend for a $2 billion deal.
And I turned it down. I didn't have to turn it down.
But you can see how, as president of the United States, involved in an organization that has assets in more than 18 countries, how many potential conflicts of interest exist here.
From a financial perspective, today's press conference raised more questions than it answered.
There was a lot of show, there were stacks full of paper, but they didn't take any of the steps that they need to take to really show that they're addressing conflicts of interest in a meaningful way.
The president-elect isn't the only Trump with potential conflicts of interest.
So this is a sample of some of our collections.
His daughter Ivanka announcing she is leaving the Trump organization, stepping away from her fashion and apparel brand and moving to Washington. In a statement, she says, "I plan to take time to settle our 3 young children into their new home and schools." However, Ivanka Trump's husband, Jared Kushner, is taking a role as a senior advisor to her father, the president.
There are so many potential ethics issues arising at the same time that it's hard for groups like us and members of Congress and the press to keep track of all of them.
On Capitol Hill, the contentious confirmation hearings continued. In one room, Senator Jeff Sessions, the candidate for Attorney General.
Senator Sessions has not demonstrated a commitment to a central requisite of the job, to aggressively pursue the congressional mandate of civil rights, equal rights, and justice for all of our citizens.
In an historic move, a sitting senator, Cory Booker, even testifying against his Senate colleague.
In the choice between standing with Senate norms or standing up for what my conscience tells me is best for our country, I will always choose conscience and country.
In the next room, former Exxon CEO Rex Tillerson, now candidate for Secretary of State.
He could be the nation's next top diplomat, but Tillerson's previous business ties to Russia and relationship with Vladimir Putin are raising some serious concerns.
Mr. Tillerson, what do you say to criticism that you're too close to Russia? Critics say your relationship with Putin is going to be a problem.
Are you concerned about his ties to Russia?
We're going to have a hearing here in a few minutes, guys.
Russia dominating the news cycle in Washington and at the one-hour presser at Trump Tower in New York. But for the first time, Trump agreeing with U.S. intelligence agencies that Russia was indeed behind the DNC hack this summer.
As far as hacking, I think it was Russia.
If you indeed do believe that Russia was behind the hacking, what is your message to Vladimir Putin right now?
He shouldn't be doing it. He won't be doing it. Russia will have much greater respect for our country when I'm leading it than when other people have led it.
As for the idea that Putin wanted to tilt the election towards a Trump victory,
if Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability.
In between the fireworks, in what little time was left, the president-elect doubling down on the big issues that carried him to the White House.
Our trade deals are a disaster. We're going to build a wall. We're going to have a health care that is far less expensive and far better.
All in true Trump fashion, light on specifics, heavy on hyperbole.
I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created, and I mean that.